Greenland is out in numbers today against the United States. Here, this is a look at the capital of Greenland, where thousands have now shown up to wave Greenland flags and to say to the United States, hey, we don't want to be a part of you. There are actually multiple protests taking place today all across Greenland, but also in Denmark as well. Some of the banners that are being used in today's protests include these two right here, FA, FO. It's F around and find out country. And this one right here, MAGA, Make America Go Away, I stand with Greenland. As all of this is going down, a bipartisan U.S. congressional delegation made their way to Copenhagen, where they made a couple different announcements, but essentially saying that we respect Denmark, we respect Greenland, and we really have no intentions of taking you guys. Obviously, what they're saying is very different than what is coming from the White House, which is actually causing all these protests to take place. So what is the vibe like right now in Denmark on the ground? Well, I'm going to read a statement for you sent in by one of my viewers. I would say that the vibe is tense. Most people I know are looking at what's happening in disbelief, anger, frustration, and disappointment. We've gone to wars alongside the United States. We have stood side by side, lost loved ones, and shared values and beliefs. We were allies. Will Greenland be destroyed and only be a source to be used? And what will happen to the people who live there? If one looks to see what happens to the natives in America, it doesn't look like the Greenlandic people have a chance of continuing their lives the way they want to if Trump gets his way. There are clear signs that those in Greenland don't want to be a part of the United States. That's what we're seeing in the protests, not only once again in Greenland, but also in Denmark. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.
The people of Greenland are sick of Donald Trump, and they proved that through sheer numbers today. The protesters in Denmark and Greenland literally have signs. No means no. They turned out en masse to protest against the Trump administration's repeated threats against the Danish territory of Greenland, even going so far as not ruling out military force against the NATO ally of Greenland and Denmark. Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Caroline Leavitt, J.D. Vance, they have been speaking as if they are entitled to this territory, and the people of Greenland are pissed off. So the breaking news is Donald Trump reacted poorly by placing tariffs on a bunch of NATO allies after these hands-off protests broke out. And that's what they're called. They're called the hands-off protests, which kind of mirror the protests that we saw, over the summer. They were called the hands-off protests, saying keep your hands off our Medicaid, keep your hands off our Medicare, keep your hands off our Constitution, and go back in the little hole that you came from. Obviously, the Trump administration has doubled down, and now they are putting their hands on the Danish territory of Greenland, so they're saying, hands off, stop the war criminals. And remember, this is a NATO ally that is now pushing back in this manner. Even in this protest, there are signs that say, make America go away. This one behind seems to say, no means no. Yeah, it says no means no. Donald Trump needs that message, but he's never gotten that message throughout his entire life that no means no. So you know what his reaction was? It was to melt down further and use the only tool that he has available to him. He puts a tax on U.S. citizens by placing a 10% tariff on a bunch of NATO allies.
Are you all watching what's taking place around the world right now? Our own allies are turning on us. Our friends are abandoning the United States in real time. This is Copenhagen, Denmark. People out there with the flags of Greenland protesting the United States. Thousands of them. Copenhagen right now. Here's another angle of that protest in Copenhagen. Here's Greenland. Yankee go home, because Donald Trump is threatening to invade Greenland. Here's a sign that was seen at that protest. F Trump, F Vance, F USA. This is Greenland right now. They have a population of tens of thousands, and many of them are out in the streets protesting against the United States. The Prime Minister of Sweden said, "We will not let ourselves be blackmailed. Only Denmark and Greenland decide issues concerning Denmark and Greenland. I will always stand up for my country and for our allied neighbors." Emmanuel Macron of France also put out a statement saying that they stand with Denmark and Greenland. They're sending troops to Greenland to participate in military exercises against the United States. Leaders from a number of different European countries have come out and condemned Donald Trump, condemned his tariff threat, condemned his possible invasion of Greenland. The world is turning on us. Our friends are turning on us. Our allies are turning on us. It is embarrassing for the United States on the world stage right now.
We have some news. Massive protests broke out this week in Denmark and Greenland. Thousands of people took to the streets to oppose comments and threats made by Trump about Greenland. Protesters held signs and chanted against U.S. pressure and any talk of taking control of Greenland by force. This is unusual. Denmark is a longtime U.S. ally. Greenland is part of that alliance. Allies do not usually protest the United States in public. But we actually haven't seen that a lot this last year, too, in places all over the world. But these demonstrations were large, loud, and very clear. So why should Americans care about this? Because when allies start protesting the U.S. government, it signals strained relationships and a possible dying allyship. That can affect military alliances, global stability, and America's role in the world. This is not just about protests. It's about how U.S. leadership is being received abroad and what that means going forward. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments. My name is Jared Zisser. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and YouTube for breaking news, updates, and the full story.
Trump is having a meltdown on Truth Social, posting a whole book on there, and boy, this one is a doozy.
Look at this. What the hell? Seriously? This is insane.
He's having a meltdown because Congress says if he invades Greenland and takes it, that they will impeach him, Republicans on board. And he's trying to justify why the United States needs Greenland, saying Russia or China are going to take it. It's about national security. They must have Greenland. Only he can do this job of getting Greenland. He says that Denmark owes a debt for years of being floated by everyone else, basically. He says he's going to impose a 10% tariff on all countries that oppose his moves on Greenland. Now he's named 8 countries that will get this increased tariff of 10% on February 1st, and it will go up to 25% on June 1st if a deal is not in place for what he calls the complete and total purchase of Greenland by the United States. Now the countries named are Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland. These are the targets on his list for this new increased tariff right now for not supporting Trump and the United States purchasing Greenland. I'm sorry, Congress, but it's time. You have to impeach him just for this. This is complete insanity. It's time. Let me know if you guys agree. Comment, like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
A major development on Greenland, 8 European countries being punished by America for opposing Donald Trump's plan to take over Greenland. He says he's going to impose 10% tariffs on any goods coming from those countries into America because they oppose the Greenland plan. Those countries are the UK, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and all of the Nordics. And it doesn't stop there. The tariffs will be increased to 25% in the summer if there isn't a deal for the complete and total purchase of Greenland, according to Donald Trump. This would be a major economic blow for many of those countries, UK and France especially, which are struggling economically and do depend on the United States for a lot of their trade. But all of those countries rely on the US. So this would have a huge impact, but those countries are making it a matter of principle to defend most Greenlanders who want to remain part of Denmark and not be bought by America.
So Trump just announced on Truth Social that he's implementing tariffs on our NATO allies because they are trying to prevent him from taking over Greenland, a sovereign nation that's owned by Denmark. Starting on February 1st, he's slapping a 10% tariff on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. And if they don't get out of his way, in June, it will climb to 25%. He said, and then the tariffs will stay on until Denmark agrees to sell him Greenland, which is not for sale. He's saying that it's for world peace, when he is the one that is literally threatening our allies, destabilizing international relationships, and causing global chaos. I know the world is not at peace, but what little peace we had, he is destroying. just so he can make money. Greenland is sitting on massive amounts of rare earth minerals, the kind that are used to power AI technology. And there's active geopolitical competition to control those supply chains. His billionaires want to open up these really creepy AI tech cities where there's no laws, no government, and people are just living and breathing to work for billionaires. So things are volatile and things are escalating, but I will keep you updated as best I can.
I'm here with Shane Smith. Shane, you're on the ground right now in Greenland. Tell us what you're seeing. There was a massive protest today. What are you seeing?
We just got here. We couldn't get in for a few days because there's been such a massive buildup of military planes that the airspace seemed to be closed because they wouldn't let any other planes in. We just landed and they had the largest protest in Greenlandic history as we landed. So we came down here. This is the U.S. consulate in Nuuk, the capital of Greenland. And there were thousands of people marching on the consulate to show their displeasure with the proposed annexation, which we filmed, which we sent you footage of. And yeah, it was a lot of anger and frustration and confusion as to why sleepy Greenland has become the center of sort of geopolitical debate without really consulting the people of Greenland.
Now, I got to ask you, you said large troop buildup. What troops are on the ground that you can tell? What foreign countries are there?
That's a great question. Denmark started sending troops. Sweden started sending troops. We were just told Slovenia sending troops. There's various NATO countries sending troops. And as we're talking to politicians and people on the ground, the politicians are smoothing things over and saying, hey, it's no problem, it's okay. But at the same time, there's massive troop buildup. And why would you have massive troop buildup unless you're expecting something to happen?
What do the people of Greenland want the world to know right now, based on what you hear?
I think that they're pissed off and that they don't want to be annexed and they don't want to be part of this and they just want to be left on their own. They said, look, we've been here for thousands of years. We're going to stay here. We don't want to be part of America or anybody else.
Shane, thanks so much and looking forward to the videos.
Let's be clear about what just happened. The Trump White House is openly asserting that the Western Hemisphere belongs to the United States, and that includes Greenland, a self-governing territory that belongs to Denmark, a NATO ally. This is not a joke, not bluster, not a rerun of a bad first-term headline. Trump has said outright that the United States needs Greenland for national security. His Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, went further and mocked the idea that any country would resist the U.S. militarily. Why does that matter to regular people? Because this is how global rules collapse. When powerful countries decide borders are optional, alliances become meaningless, and force replaces law, that instability shows up as higher defense spending, broken trade relationships, energy shocks, and more war risks that ordinary people pay for first. Historically, this is not new. This is a return to early 20th century imperial thinking, spheres of influence, might makes right, and smaller nations treated as bargaining chips. The post-World War II order was built specifically to stop this kind of behavior. NATO exists to prevent it. Here's the danger. If the United States threatens to seize territory from a NATO ally, it doesn't just end trust with Europe, it potentially destroys NATO itself. Denmark could invoke Article 5. If the U.S. ignores it, the alliance collapses in practice, not theory. Greenlanders have overwhelmingly said they do not want to join the United States. Denmark has already granted the U.S. military access to bases and infrastructure. There is no security necessity here. There is only power projection. And when the White House says the world is governed by force, not rules, other powers are listening. Russia is listening. China is listening. Taiwan is watching. Ukraine is watching. This is how global instability is normalized, one we need it at a time. If you want the fuller story and the context they would rather you ignore, join me on Substack. That's where I go deeper and lay out the analysis without restraint. The link is in my bio.
The United States is trying to take over Greenland, and that's something that we've all been hearing all over the news. But have you asked yourself why, and are you questioning why? Let's talk about it. This is what you need to know so you understand what is happening. Greenland is the largest island in the world, and it sits right between North America and Europe. However, Greenland, even though it's its own country, is governed by the Kingdom of Denmark. Now, because Greenland sits between North America and Europe, the United States has had a presence in Greenland, specifically in the Pitufi space base. Why, you may ask? Well, because of where Greenland sits, it helps the United States have missile warnings and space surveillance. Now, Greenland also sits in the Arctic, and as we all know, global warming is happening, so all this ice has been melting in the Arctic. And because of the ice melting, new shipping routes have been made for China and Russia. And that concerns President Donald Trump. So President Donald Trump has stated that he wants full control of Greenland, and he's asking NATO to help him take control over Greenland from Denmark. However, Denmark is part of NATO. And what President Donald Trump is trying to do goes against NATO policies and a bunch of other foreign policies when it comes to country sovereignty, and you can't just take control over countries like that. Now check this out. A lot of NATO countries have stepped forward not only to help Denmark protect Greenland, but also to state that President Donald Trump doesn't want Greenland because of the Chinese and Russia presence he claims to be seeing more. These countries are stating that President Donald Trump wants Greenland because Greenland sits atop of minerals, significant minerals I might add, as well as energy and rare earth potential, which is increasingly valuable. Given what happened in Venezuela, where President Trump sent military members to go seize Maduro, the Venezuelan president, countries like Greenland and Denmark are not taking Trump's threats lightly, to which a lot of people are saying that these are not threats. These are forewarnings on what he's about to do next. And because of that, NATO countries have sent a lot of their military members to Greenland to prepare themselves in case of an attack. Here's a huge question for a lot of people. What happened to the United States military members in Greenland? They're still there. They're just chilling there with nothing to really do. They're not being held captive. They're not prisoners. They're just there, waiting for orders, I'm assuming. So I hope this video clears up a lot of questions that people have been having as to why does President Trump want to take over Greenland? What is happening between the United States and NATO? And following up on a video that I made yesterday, if China is an issue, why not just go directly to China? Instead of taking out the little countries, controlling little countries, why not just go after China? Food for thought. But let me know what you think in the comments below.
Breaking news. Donald Trump said that he will slap a 10% tariff on the following 7 countries until a deal is completed for the total purchase of Greenland. What? Yes, Donald Trump is now threatening our allies with a tariff because he wants Greenland. He has now said that he will slap he's slapping an immediate tariff, on Denmark, on Germany, on France, on the United Kingdom, on Norway, on Sweden, on the Netherlands, and Finland if an immediate deal is not reached for the purchase of Greenland. What? And this tariff will increase 25% if a deal is not reached by June the 1. He said only he and the U.S. can play this game, and he knows how to do it very successfully. Well, guess what, Donald Trump? You don't know too much, do you? And guess what the American people are saying? I think you do work for the American people, even though you don't think so. But about 86% of the U.S. people are opposed to any type of military intervention in Greenland, and 75% of the American public do not approve or against any type of acquisition or purchase of Greenland. What? The American people say 75% no purchase and 86% say no military intervention. So Donald Trump, who do you think you work for? Huh? Who? Because the American people are saying no, and you don't seem to listen to them. So you all know what to do. We need to vote like, you know what, in the midterms, we need to throw all of these MAGA people, all these Trumpers out, the Republicans out. We need to take control of Congress and the Senate, which we will, because we need to stop Trump on this, and we need those Epstein files released. What do you think? Pam Bondi, you are really, really, really not doing your job, and you are breaking the law because those files were supposed to be released December 19th. You're only a month behind. But the American people are saying no military intervention and do not buy Greenland, period. That's what the American people are saying, Donald Trump. Why can't you listen? Hearing aid not working? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my kookas, and the burned out light bulbs. What do you all think?
The largest protest in the history of Greenland has just taken place. You saw right there
Tens of thousands of people gathered in Nuuk to protest against Donald Trump and the threats by Trump and his regime to invade Greenland. There's only about 55 to 60,000 people who live in Greenland, and mostly every Greenlandic person was out there protesting today, and you saw that right there. This is when the premier of Greenland arrived to the demonstration. Let's play this clip right here. And there were also demonstrations in front of Copenhagen City Hall in solidarity with Greenland. This right here is in Copenhagen City Town Hall in Denmark. Play this clip. Now, while those protests were taking place, Donald Trump was absolutely losing it. And he ran to social media to post the following attack against Greenland and any of the countries that support Greenland's sovereignty. But he focused on Denmark and France and Norway and Sweden and Germany and the UK, countries that have also offered to provide their military forces to protect Greenland from an invasion by Donald Trump. And Trump said that he will be tariffing them 10% starting immediately on February 1st, and then a 25% tariff on all of these countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, and Germany, if they, and United Kingdom, if they don't allow Donald Trump to invade and conquer Greenland. So while those protests were taking place, here's what Donald Trump just posted moments ago. We have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. Now, after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is not a thing that Denmark can do about it. Just pause there. Do you have even the most basic understanding of American history? Centuries? I mean, you may want to focus on the post-World War II world. You may want to focus on the 1950s treaty that the United States entered with Greenland and Denmark. And then you say that there's nothing that Denmark can do if Russia or China does anything. There's something called NATO. I know, Donald, you hate NATO, and you and Putin are working tirelessly to destroy NATO, and you probably have already destroyed NATO. But there's a little something called Article 5, which if China or Russia attack Greenland, Article 5 means that all of the European countries, all of the NATO countries that are all of the European countries part of NATO, the United States, and any other country that's part of NATO defends Greenland. That's the pact that we have, while Greenland has agreed. You tell us how many military bases you want, United States. We'll give it to you. The United States used to have 17 military bases in Greenland, and America closed down 15 of them. You want to talk about rare earths and other minerals and resources? Greenland's open to those conversations. They're just not open to you conquering their land and taking their sovereignty and subjugating their people. They made that very, very clear. Trump goes on to say they currently have 2 dog sleds as protection, one added recently. And this is also why people despise you, because you're just an asshole. Like, you're just a horrible human being. They are defended by Denmark, and they actually have special forces now from Canada, from Germany, from France, from Sweden, and from other countries that are there now. And as I'll show in a little bit, Prime Minister Carney made it clear that under Article 5, you dare invade, you dare attack Greenland, that based on Article 5, NATO will now go to war with the United States. And you know who loves this right now? Putin and Xi Jinping. They love it. And by the way, Xi Jinping was meeting with Canada also, doing the $1 trillion trade deal, and they're now going to get in Canada the Chinese electric vehicles, which is now going to screw over the American auto workers. Great work again, Donald. Plan well executed. Just idiot. He goes on to say, only the United States of America under Donald J. Trump can play in this game, and very successfully at that. Nobody will touch this sacred piece of land, especially since the national security of the United States and the world at large is at stake. On top of everything else, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown. No, not for purposes unknown, to send their special forces to defend against an American invasion and to go to war with the United States if the United States tries to take it over. This is a very dangerous situation for the safety, security, and survival of the planet, Donald Trump writes. These countries who are playing this very dangerous game have put a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. Therefore, it is imperative that in order to protect global peace and security, strong measures must be taken so this potentially perilous situation ends quickly and without question. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all of the above mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland, sorry, I forgot those earlier, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June 1st, 2020,